What's up, Heat fans? Welcome to the Heat Report by Chat Sports. I am Nic Rohloff, and on today's show, we're answering some of your questions as we enter to the offseason. It's not ideal that we're in the first week of May and already talking about the offseason because Miami is usually making postseason runs, but here we are. And over the weekend, I wanted to do a nice little at-home mailbag for all of you guys. If you want to ask me questions about the Miami Heat and didn't get your question featured on today's show, follow me at Nic_Rohloff. I'll have you up to date on the latest surrounding Miami sports, specifically the Miami Heat. I respond to DMs. I respond to any comments under my posts. So you guys want to go follow me over there at Nic_Rohloff. I'll show you some love. All right, this first question's coming in from RS33. He asks about Donovan Mitchell and if the Cleveland Cavaliers are actually going to trade Donovan Mitchell and would he have to ask to join the Miami Heat specifically like Donovan Mitchell did. I don't think that's the case here. So here's the fun thing about by the way, Damian Lillard, I did not say that correctly. But Damian Lillard asked specifically for the Miami Heat. And I actually think that hurt Miami because Portland did not take too kindly to the fact that he only wanted to go to the Heat. So Joe Cronin and the Blazers front office kind of didn't respect Miami at all and never really wanted to engage with them because it didn't feel like a fair fight in terms of their eyes to where it was the best packages coming in because it was like only Miami, only Miami. So I don't think that actually would really have to be the case here. But I do believe the Cleveland Cavaliers will trade Donovan Mitchell this offseason. If they end up beating the Magic in 6 games tonight or when I was filming this on Friday, that's cool. But I don't think that changes anything. As long as they get beat by the Boston Celtics in the second round, I believe Donovan Mitchell is still going to want to ask out and still wanting to be somewhere else outside of Cleveland. So, yes, I do think the Cavs will trade him because he's only got 1 year deal or 1 year left on his deal. So would you rather have him get you assets back this summer, or would you rather have 1 more year of Donovan Mitchell before he's an unrestricted free agent and can leave and go to whatever team he wants to without you getting anything back? So yes, I do think Donovan Mitchell will be traded this offseason. I think it's the biggest lock of the offseason is that Mitchell will be traded. Unless out of nowhere he signs a long-term extension with Cleveland, yeah, D-Mitch will be traded this offseason. But let me know down in the comments section who you want to trade for. Who does Miami need to go out and get in this offseason? Let me know who you want down below. All right, question number 2 coming in from Xavier Wolfs. Some Heat free agency rumors. Should the Heat re-sign Caleb Martin and Dillon Wright? One person at a time here. We'll start with Caleb Martin. No, I don't think they should re-sign Caleb Martin. And it's because of the financials of it. I've said this on a couple shows now already, but Caleb Martin's going to get the full mid-level exception in all likelihood, which is about $12 to $13 million per season. I think Caleb Martin's a fine player, but if Miami were to offer him that contract, it would push them deep into the second apron of the luxury tax, which would obviously make Mickey Harrison pay more money that he doesn't need to, and it would also limit your ability to trade for people, sign other players, and you actually aren't allowed to trade the 2032 first-round pick that will come available in the offseason as well. So I don't think the ramifications of signing Caleb Martin to a 2 or 3 year extension that is going to be $10+ million is worth it for Miami. I think Caleb deserves it as a player, and I hope he gets that somewhere else in free agency because I appreciate everything he's done for the Heat over the past couple seasons. It just doesn't make sense for Miami to put themselves in that big of a tight in a wrap, I should say, of not being able to have flexibility because Caleb Martin. That doesn't make any sense to me. I think Caleb's going to be gone because he's going to want to get paid because it might be the only chance he has to get paid. Second part of that question, Dillon Wright. Absolutely. I tweeted this out. I think Dillon Wright needs to be on the Miami Heat next year. He showcased his ability to be a great bench guard defensively. He can handle the ball a little bit. Sure, he does need to work on his three-point shooting. He's never going to be a marksman, but if you can give me 36, 37% on catch-and-shoot situations, we'll take that. He's not the most offensively inclined player, but he is so good defensively that having him be your 8th, 9th man off the bench next season and being a point-of-attack defender off the bench, I think that is a good move for Miami. I only think it would cost the vet min to have Dillon Wright back. I think he will express interest to return to Miami, and I think Pat Riley should bring back Dillon Wright. More questions to get to here in just a second, but we are sponsored by Prize Picks. Get started with the #1 daily fantasy sports app in North America today by downloading the app, using code CLNS to get a first deposit match up to $100. They're offering that to you right now. NBA playoffs continue, NHL playoffs, MLB. There's a lot to play on Prize Picks. You can make an entry with 4 more player stat projections raining across different sports. League of Legends, Call of Duty, like they even have the soccer. WNBA preseason is starting this weekend as well. So get in on the action, win up to 100 times your money right now with as little as 4 correct entries using Prize Picks. And they're giving you a first deposit match up to $100. Code CLNS when you download the app or prizepicks.com/CLNS. Pick more, pick less. That easy, that simple. All right, next question coming in here from Robertson. Could the Miami Heat sign LeBron James in NBA free agency? So LeBron James does have a player option for this summer, over $50 million. And Brian Windhorst kind of reported that he expects LeBron James to opt out and become a free agent for the first time since 2018. Now, LeBron did respond to that on social media saying that, don't believe, I haven't made a decision, blah, 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 blah. But I do buy into the smoke that LeBron is going to opt out. If you're watching this on Sunday when we're putting this video out, Darvin Ham was canned on Friday. Maybe the new coach comes in and gets LeBron to stay, but it's been a very up and down tenure for LeBron in LA. It started out really rough. Then they get the championship during the COVID season, and then it's been pretty rough ever since that title. So I think there is a chance he would opt out and want to go elsewhere. Now, the issue is with Miami, because of the contract situation to Jimmy Butler, Terry Rozier, Hero, Bam, they could not afford a large contract given out to LeBron James. So he would have to return to Miami on a very, very small deal. Or if the Heat shedded the contracts of both Hero and Rozier. So hypothetically, if you trade Tyler Hero, not for a star, but you just trade him to get rid of his contract to a team that can absorb his deal, you get maybe a pick back or just a couple role players. Same thing for Terry Rozier. You get those 2 contracts off the book and potentially move Duncan Robinson as well. That is probably the only pathway to signing LeBron James. Do not anticipate that, though. As fun of a story as it would be for LeBron to come home and form a big 3 with Bam and Jimmy, I don't think it's going to happen. All right, NBA trade rumors here coming in from Bryce Blackwell. Could Kevin Durant be a possible trade for Miami / Paul George? So a little twofold question here from Bryce. Appreciate the question. Kevin Durant is an intriguing one because the Phoenix Suns were a disaster this year. They could never stay healthy, kind of like Miami, and then they obviously get swept in the first round against the Timberwolves. The T-Wolves are a heck of a team, don't get it twisted, but the fact that Beal, Devin Booker, and Durant couldn't get a win against the Timberwolves put Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo could have gotten one against the Celtics was kind of wild to me. So it'll be intriguing to see if KD and the Suns end up blowing it up. There's rumors out there that Kevin Durant didn't like his fit in the offense with Frank Vogel. So if Durant's on the outs and on a possible trade out of Phoenix, I do expect Miami to be interested because Pat Riley's always had an affinity for KD. Back in 2016, they tried to trade him. They tried to trade for Kevin Durant a couple of years ago when he was dealt, or when he actually stayed and then was dealt to Phoenix at the deadline. It was the same offseason that Donovan Mitchell went from Cleveland to Utah. Miami's battling both fronts there. But either way, when it comes to KD, Miami's always wanted him. The only question I have is, would he even fit well in Miami? Because think about this. KD has really regressed in terms of three-point shooting. Not his talent, not his ability, but his willingness. He does not shoot the three ball as often as he used to, and he just likes to live in the mid-range. And if you have three guys in Durant, or Bam, and Butler all trying to get into that 15, 18-foot range, it could be interesting spacing, but it's going to be hard for me to say no to KD. I think if he's available and Miami's interested and the price point isn't too high and you could afford it, better than running it back. That's for sure. Besides Paul George, I love PG-13. He also has a player option. One of my favorite players to watch in the NBA. I know he has some bad moments in the postseason, but I love Paul George. I would love him in Miami because he's a great fit. He'd be a ball handler, two-way defender, three-point shooter next to Jimmy and Bam. I think the fit's fantastic. Same reason with LeBron James why it's not possible, and even more with Paul George because he's likely going to try to sign a massive deal. You can give me a 1% chance of LeBron signing cheap. Paul George, not the case. This one's coming in from Timothy Houston. Should Miami add a center on the Heat's roster to move Bam Adebayo to power forward? Appreciate, Timothy. You gave me a lot of questions, but we're going to just use this one for today's video. I've been very open about my distaste towards moving Bam Adebayo from center to power forward. Yes, I know Bam improved his three-point shooting and showed that he can be a little bit of a floor spacer, but the only way that you're going to try to convince me that a big man / center next to Bam in the starting lineup to move Bam to the 4 and have a bigger front court, they have to be an elite three-point shooter. Like, they have to be, because Bam is not to the point in his career where he can be considered a serious threat from 3. Teams would just still dare him to shoot 5, 6 threes a game, and I'm cool with Bam shooting 2 or 3 a game, but I don't know if I want him getting up to that 5, 6 range right now, like, unless he proves that he can really shoot 40% from deep. So the only centers that I'd want are guys that can space the floor. That's why I thought Kevin Love and Bam worked together, because even though Kevin Love is most likely a power forward and he's an undersized center as well, you still have a guy that can really stretch the defense and teams have to pay attention to in Kevin Love from beyond the arc. Like a Brook Lopez, a Miles Turner type. Sure, those guys would potentially work next to Bam, but those guys aren't leaving their current spots, and I don't think there's another center out there off the top of my head that can start next to Bam and space the floor and meet my criteria to be a three-point stretch center. And for that reason, I don't think the Heat should add a center to this roster. Now, if you should, well, let me rephrase, to the starting lineup. I do want the Heat to add a center to be a backup. A more defensive presence behind Bam would be key. I like Kevin Love, but he's just not good defensively, and he got ran off the court against the Celtics because he couldn't defend. If we could get a backup center that isn't the worst defensive center in the NBA when Bam heads to the bench, yes, I'm in, but to the starting lineup, not really. And a lot of people are going to say Zach Edey at 15. He can't space the floor. Him and Bam can't play together. It would be a disaster. You're not picking a 15th overall player to be a backup center. That's all Edey would be in his career. Not having that. Don't want to even talk about it. And there's not really a center that can space the floor like that will be available at pick 15. One last question to get to here, but make sure you do subscribe to the channel. We're bringing you different types of content every single day at the Heat Report. So join the channel. A lot of fun things to talk about this offseason, so join us. All right, last question coming in from SF Nate. Re-sign Kevin Love. Yes, I do think Kevin Love should be re-signed. And I did kind of just flame him a second ago. And the reason why I'm re-signing Kevin Love is kind of to be the Udonis Haslem role. No one can replace what Haslem brought to this Heat bench and locker room, but Love could be a nice second fiddle, if you will. He doesn't need to play, but can be the 13th, 14th man off the bench who, if absolutely necessary, can play in the regular season. But I think it was very obvious at this stage in his career, K-Love just can't play in the postseason. So I would bring him back to be someone to help be that third big man throughout the regular season. But once playoffs begin, you can't play him, which is what brings me to that point I just made about signing another center to be a defensive guy off the bench. Not a lot on offense, but defense. But I would bring back Kevin Love on a vet-min deal, even if they wanted to give him a 2-year deal or something like that to have him on the bench. I don't think he's going to retire. So, yes, I would bring Kevin Love back to join the Miami Heat's bench as another player-coach type. All right, that's going to be it for today's video. Make sure you have followed me on Twitter at Nic_Rohloff. We'll have it all surrounding the Miami Heat on YouTube and my Twitter as well. So join us on the channel, join me on Twitter, and I'll see you in the next video. Go Heat.